What's up, True Nerds? Another week of gaming with Droly and Cobbsy and our True Nerds podcast. This week, we're going to talk about what games we've been playing this week and the Steam Deck. Cobbsy's got his, I've ordered mine, and we're going to get into it.
All right, so first things first, happy Easter. I hope you had a really good day. We had a phenomenal day with the kids.
Oh, I bet.
Every single holiday makes it even better, but pretty low-key day. I don't know how yours was, but we just hung out all day and ordered some breakfast in, did some takeout with our favorite restaurant.
Nice.
Kids ran around, grabbed their eggs, their Easter baskets, and then later in the day we went over to my parents and did an Easter egg hunt. So how was your day?
We have had a 2-day battle with eating way too much food. I'm like sore from eating too much food. It's like, I feel like my body's been through a marathon. We had my dad's side of the family came over to our house on Saturday, and we just watched TV and had a blast, hang out and talked in the living room. And then this morning we went to church and then went over to my mom's side of the family and had a bunch of people over there and just kept eating even more. And it was crazy. We had Mission Barbecue. We got them catering on Saturday, and it was incredible. And everyone was so full. And my cousin made these cheesecakes that could kill you. And so we were filled up on the barbecue, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm stuffed. And they pull out these cheesecakes, and I'm like, no.
I'll make a little more room.
Yeah.
that's the best and the worst thing about holidays, because you're indulging yourself with your family, and then you'll wait 20 minutes, like, oh my gosh, I am so stuffed, but something else will come on. You'll keep eating, especially when you got good cooks in the family. We went over to my mom's today, and she just had a smorgasbord, and me and Heather got way too stuffed. Kids wouldn't eat because they're too worried about their candy, but they got their fill there. So, but yeah, we haven't had a podcast for a couple of weeks. I've been sick again. It's weird. You have kids and they go to school, and the germ circulation just continues. So we didn't do it last week because I couldn't talk. So I think it was actually 3 weeks ago. Did we have to miss 2 weeks in a row?
Yep.
Yeah, we did. So I'm super happy to be back. I've been itching. We really haven't been talking too much, a little bit, but I don't know if you want to start. We can start with games we've been playing. It hasn't changed much for me. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've downloaded a lot of new games. I've played a little bit, but I got my main. So I'll let you start. You can kind of let me know what's going on in the Droly's world.
So really only 2 games this entire week. It's been more Elden Ring. I continue to grind on that, which is actually crazy because open world games for me, I get it's almost we're uncanny 13% of the way in, and then I lose interest and stop playing, or something better kind of comes up. But this game is so good, and I think it's honestly going to go down as one of the greatest video games of all time. And I think a lot of other people kind of feel the same way. There's so much, every detail seems so thought out, but I've continued my grind on that. I beat another big milestone boss this week, and maybe a little over leveled. I think I'm 140 level.
Who was the boss you beat?
I can't remember. Rohan or Rodon or
Radon. Oh, Radon.
Radon.
Yep.
So I beat Radon. I smoked him. It was just, I've seen the encounter. It's all over YouTube. So everybody I'm watching has done that encounter. So I knew what was going on with it. But I was over leveled, and I'm a caster. And so, boss fights are already pretty easy, and I had a lot of space to work with. And so,
yeah, if you're level 140, man, because I think I'm only level 170, and I'm on my third playthrough. So you're just enjoying the open world. So that's cool. Yeah, Radon was a super fun fight.
Yeah.
I think when I went to him, I was kind of not under leveled, but just right on par. So I think I actually tried a few times, then left, and then came back I grinded a little, not grinded, but explored a different area and then came back. So nice to hear you dumpstered on his ass.
Yeah, but I've been having, even with me being that level, I've been having issues just exploring some of the higher level areas in the open world. Like it was rough. And so I was talking with Cobbs last week, and he helped me beat another boss, and I got to respec my character, and I put 50 points into health because I was like, I'm sick of getting one shot.
Right.
I'm sick of getting like comboed and dying when I'm like this high of a level. And so I put 50 points into HP, and then I think I put 60 into intellect, but I got this, I think she gives you, or where did I get it? I got she gives you the like moonshot like spell.
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
When you take it up to the finger maiden and the round
Yeah.
hole. Yep.
And so I got that, but you need 70 intellect to use it. And so then I grinded another 10 levels, and so I could put that into intellect. And I was just having some like kind of a busier couple weeks, and so I've just been like just enjoying some of the like leveling process. I found like a couple different farms, and then there'd be a night where like I only have like an hour to play, and I was like, I'm just gonna like farm for like an hour and just like kind of relax and then go to bed. And so that's why I'm a little over leveled, but still just absolutely loving the game. It's incredible. And the other game I've been playing is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
I'm jealous you own it because I've wanted it. It's one of those things. I think the last time I played a Lego game was actually when I bought the Xbox 360. It came with Kung Fu Panda.
Nice.
And I think Lego Batman.
Okay.
And it was one of those things where I think I had Gears of War and Halo 2 were my kind of go-to things, which Halo 2 is a OG Xbox game. But it was one of those things I'll never forget on Thanksgiving. I was like, you know what? I'm going to boot up Kung Fu Panda and Lego. And I didn't realize that Lego actually, I thought it was just kind of a kid's game thing. And then you realize, no, there's all this adult humor in it. And I kind of fell in love with Lego games ever since then. So I'm super jealous. Of it. I just can't spend $60 on it right now. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's going to be there for forever. And it's a great game. And it's actually blowing up. It's it's Lego's most successful game that they've ever made. It had like the Steam numbers were, I forget what it was. It was like 85,000 concurrent players. So that's
crazy.
That's on at one time. And the next best Lego game was like 2,000 or something. It's just like crushing all of Lego's previous games. And I don't even think they normally do that well on Steam. I feel like their bread and butter is consoles, so targeting, definitely targeting a younger generation, but it's definitely like all of them have been enjoyable for an older generation. And I've played a bunch of the Lego Star Wars games because they kind of are a little bit more geared or are enjoyable through adults, but some of the gameplay just kind of gets old. And the ones that I'm used to playing, they kind of just like took you on this like almost 2D platforming path. And it just like wasn't that interesting or engaging like long term, and I'd kind of get about halfway through and be like, I'm a little bored of it. But like the writing and stuff was always good. But this game, they've dropped it down to like over the shoulder Gears of War style third person kind of shooter / melee thing, and like that's really interesting. And then I don't think the gameplay is particularly hard or super challenging. There's a lot to the game if you're trying to 100% it. Like they've said, hey, completionists, do not get this game because it will take you weeks to get everything.
That's hilarious.
But there's so much that is awesome about this game. They have all these interactions. Like there's I've been like YouTubing and TikTok and all these interactions between different characters that never got to meet in the actual trilogy. Or like the actual like movies, but they've specifically written in interactions that they would have. So like young Anakin meets Darth Vader, and he's like, "Oh, cool armor. Where do I get that?" And he goes, "Patience."
That's hilarious.
And and then like Ben Solo and Darth Vader, and like there's all these different interactions that like each of the characters have, and different stages. Each character has different stages of where they were in the movies, and so they've just you can just tell that they're huge Star Wars fans, the people who make these games, and they really understand Star Wars. And they keep it kind of lighthearted, but they don't change the meaning of any of the scenes. And they'll change up the scenes a little bit to make it a little bit more funny or add a comedic effect to it, but it doesn't change like how the scene is received. And they actually condense a lot of it, so like the original trilogy and sequel trilogies are much more enjoyable because you're not taking this long drawn out, or you're not watching this long drawn out thing. Like episode 1 was like boom 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 boom, like they're hitting like all the points, and you can like breeze through some of the parts that like weren't that interesting in the movie.
Episode 1 has a lot of, well, actually, I'd say the first 2, lots of, not filler, like you needed it. It was a lot of good background that really gave, episode 4, 5, and 6 context and what happened. A lot of history and background on these people, which is great. But if you're rewatching or in a video game, for instance, that's going to be some boring stuff. So that's good to hear that they kind of breeze through that.
I think the saying that everybody says is episodes 1, 2, and 3 are great Star Wars, but terrible movies. Like,
oh, man.
You get
Revenge
like
of the Sith is my favorite movie by far.
I mean, yeah. All right. So I get like, depending on like how you look at it, but we were both really young, or a lot younger when Revenge of the Sith came out. But like, to someone who I know there's some great lines to a lot of that stuff, but like the lore is there and the world building is there, and if you read some more into the kind of expanded universe that was, or stuff that was going around those times, there's so much to unpack, and so much is really, really good. And if the movie, the whole trilogy focuses on corruption, which is really relevant right now and holds up till today, but he focused on he tried to keep everything like a mystery and like slowly kind of give you these hints, even though we pretty much knew what was already going to happen.
He just didn't over like that moment that it was going to kind of trigger.
Yeah, and it like the pacing of it was much slower, where I think in episodes 4, 5, and 6, like he uses these abrupt cuts. He gives you a scene and then it moves on to the next scene. There's no transition scene. There's no building up to how they get to the next scene. It's like, nope, we're got the plans. We're headed back to the Rebel base. Now we're on the Rebel base. We've made our attack plan. Now we're attacking a Death Star. There's like, it's like boom, 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 like other action. And George Lucas chose to like slowly drip information to you over the course of the original 3, which, I mean, I love the original 3, but going back and trying to get somebody else who's never experienced Star Wars excited about episode 1, that you could fall asleep to that movie. If you're not already into it, like until like Duel of Fates comes on and you're like, oh shit, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Right.
Like it can be pretty slow, like slow paced, and characters that you're not sure where this is kind of going. But I mean, there's some great stuff about 1, but it could be a little rough.
You're talking when Darth Maul takes off his hood, first time we see him pops off, and then you just, I don't know, man. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about like how good that scene is. I was actually watching a cool video. I can't think of her name. The actress that plays, holy cow,
Natalie Portman.
Is that who it is? The princess?
Queen Amidala?
Yeah. Or Queen.
Natalie Portman.
She didn't actually know what Darth Maul looked like. So her reaction when he takes off his hood is legitimate. She doesn't know what to do. Like if you rewatch it, she doesn't know what to do. She looks and she just looks away and walks. So you should go watch it after we get done.
I will.
It's actually really cool because she looks and she's like, it's actually like a surprise look, and she's like, oh shit, and then it just goes off screen. So it's kind of cool. I was watching an interview about that, but anyways, nerd sidetrack. So Star Wars game, back to the game.
Yeah. So I mean, the greatest thing that this thing has going for it is its incredible writing to make things a lot lighthearted and more interesting. And so people have said, if you're not a fan of the sequel trilogy, like whatever they are, like the movies try and take themselves really seriously, and I think that's where people like have this disconnect. But the game doesn't. It's all kind of like comedy, and it likes to make fun of itself. And I think Star Wars can be good at that. And like you're just like, oh yeah, that is kind of funny, and then you move on, and you're not like upset about what character they destroyed, character arc and kind of whatever else. And so it creates a lot. They're really, really enjoyable. It's like the stark opposite contrast from Elden Ring. You can kind of just turn your brain off and have some fun, listen to some great dialogue and writing. And then the best thing that this game has going for it, and the reason I bought the game, the lighting in this game is incredible. It looks like it's ray traced lighting, but it's not. But and I had to buy it for PC. I wanted to buy it for the Switch because I think it's just a perfect game to play portably. But the lighting to this game, I was playing it on my 65-inch OLED TV, and the opening scene comes up. I was like, oh yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I go to the settings, and they weren't maxed out. I was like, well, this is weird. I can max everything out. And then I clicked HDR on, and it reloads the opening scene. And I was like, oh my gosh,
which is hilarious for a Star Wars game or a Lego game.
Yeah, right. And then like they do an incredible job of like detailed assets. Like if you look at the Lego face, like some of them have like they're like beat up, and they're really reflective. And then you look at the ground, and the ground like looks realistic, like you were there. And then there's just kind of Legos built into the world, and like they've just done such a good job. It got me so excited, and it's so fun to like run around with your lightsaber out and looking at all the reflections on everything and how bright the colors are. And they just did such a good job with this game.
That's good to hear. I'm excited to get it. I'm gonna get it eventually. I would have bought it right away. I looked at it. I think I texted you, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? It's not ready on the Steam Deck. So there's three things. It's either verified, supported, or unsupported. So verified means it's been tested by Valve. Supported means that there might be some weird nuances, like your mouse cursor might show up instead of having a controller setting, or you might have to manually hit the keyboard or something like that. Small things. But then unsupported is like, no, this game's all jacked up. It's unsupported, which is super weird because you would think that it's a simplistic game. It would handle well. So that's why I didn't pull the trigger, because I'm into Elden Ring, and I actually got a lot of tactical RPG games coming up on my PC that I want to play. So didn't purchase it. But
yeah, I mean, that's also kind of a great transition though into the Steam Deck, right? Because now that you have it, and mine's on the way, we're starting to think of, okay, what experiences do I want to have on the Steam Deck, or both PC and be able to play on the Steam Deck? And that can make a huge decision on what games you're pulling the trigger on.
One thing I want to talk about. So when I got my Steam Deck, I've had it for 2 weeks now. I started looking up videos like, okay, so there's a whole website of verified Steam Deck games. So what you can do is you can go on Steam, and you can, they have great on deck. And then you can scroll through and you can look, but there's no rhyme or reason the order they're in. It's kind of based on trending or based on what you've played before. And it's really annoying. There's not like just a comprehensive list. So there's actually a website that they made where it shows all the verified games. So I went on that. What I actually started looking up YouTube videos. There's really nothing out there. And the thing that pisses me off about content creators right now for the Steam Deck, as far as games go, they're mentioning all these AAA amazing games. I think they're missing a really huge opportunity here, because yes, God of War runs good on the Steam Deck. Yes, Elden Ring runs good on the Steam Deck, which is crazy, and that's what people are getting at. Me personally, that's not why I bought the Steam Deck. I bought the Steam Deck so if I'm traveling, or if I just want to veg out on the couch or whatever, if I want to play God of War and get a good experience, I'm going to do it on my PC, right? So that type of game is not good for me. I even booted up Control the other day because it's a verified game. I played it a little bit. I'm like, you know what? It's running good on my Steam Deck, but this game is so good that I want to play it on my PC.
I've seen it on the PC, and it's a graphic showcase.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna experience it. Like, yeah, and I think you're definitely onto something there. And I think from what I've seen from the Steam Deck Reddit community and some of the Steam Deck Facebook like groups is that people get them and they're expecting this great experience because people say you can play God of War and you can do this, and like you can, but like it's low settings. It's like you have to take into account it's just a handheld, low power device, and it is a miracle that these games even run on this device, and that's what people are trying to get at.
Right.
But they're not the best experiences you're going to have, and it's not the best experience for that game that you're going to have. You're going to have a much better job on a medium to low end or older gaming PC than you are going to have on the Steam Deck.
Right.
What the Steam Deck offers is portability. It can play them, so when you're going to bed at night and you're not like caring, you're not like caring about the graphics, or you can pick it up and you can accomplish a few things in the game, or if you're on that bus ride commute or something, that's where like you can have some of these experiences that you previously weren't available to you at all. Or you can have great experiences in some of the games that I think you're about to talk about next.
Yeah, so what I did is, like I said, I looked up all these YouTube videos, and they're like, oh, God of War, Witcher 3, all this shit. It's like, okay, yes, you can play these AAA games, but I don't want to experience those on my Steam Deck. The reason I bought the Steam Deck is for older titles or indie titles that I've always wanted to play. They're on the Switch already, but their prices are outrageous, right? So, for instance, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. It's a 2D Metroidvania style game. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not. But you're going to spend at least $20 or $40 on games like this. Darkest,
On the Switch?
Yeah, on the Switch. Darkest Dungeon. Still $20 to $40. I don't know off the top of my head, but all of these games, these indie games or these simplistic style games that are super good games, but the Switch is, taking advantage of them being released recently on the Switch, so they're upcharging the living shit out of it. Okay, I just went on CD Keys these last couple days, and what I did is I filtered from, I didn't want to do from 0, because then you're getting all these bullshit, weird, not even indie games, just like weird, like if you know what I'm talking about, style games. So what I did is I did $2 to $15. That was my filter. And there was, I think, 4,800 games that popped up. And there's 30 games per screen. So what I did is throughout the last couple of days when I was bored, I would just look at a screen and then click next, and I started going through. Sometimes I sat there for 20 minutes. Sometimes it was just, I did one page at a time. I ended up spending $26, and I got Darksiders Genesis.
Nice.
All right, Darksiders 2, the remastered version. Darkest Dungeon, the definitive edition with all the DLC. I got Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I got Ori, the original Ori. The game was $2. So what I'm getting at is you would spend at least $20 per game on this on the Switch, and you could just go on CD Keys or even Steam. Right now, Ori's on sale on, or not Ori, Darkest Dungeons on sale on Steam on your computer, which they're always very overpriced on, or not overpriced, but they're always full price on Steam, right? I think the game's $3 or $4 right now. So I think what a lot of people are missing is you can go and buy all these amazing games, whether they're indie or they're older. Like Darkest Dungeon, it's indie, but it's also older. There's people that say they get 200 to 300 hours out of this game. To complete it, they're saying it's a minimum, or like 100% completion, it's 150 hours.
Wow.
So the game was $2 on CD keys. I got the definitive edition, so I spent $7. So I think that is where people need to start like putting their brain or their focus onto the Steam Deck and realizing, hey, Steam has a huge library of games. I'm going to be playing Elden Ring or whatever your AAA game is or your major game on my PC, and then, oh, it's time to go to bed, or I'm not in the mood to play tonight. I just want to kind of veg out. Oh, I'm going to go play Darksiders Genesis, a top-down action RPG. Just turn your brain off and go.
For sure.
So, I don't know what you're planning on playing, but that is why I bought the Steam Deck. That is why I'm so excited for this, because I have, how many new games that I can play, and I can just pick up and go. It's dream come true is what it is.
For sure. I think that's like, I mainly bought it like when I'm portably, or like take it to work with me and like use it as a full-fledged computer, and then also like on a lunch break or something, be able to like play a quick game or something like that really fast is where it interests me the most. Or my wife and I have like an hour commute to church, the church that she likes to go to, and so she drives, I hop in the car, and I can just like play games for an hour, and it just expands your library, and you're not locked down to whatever the Switch says is okay, or whatever else. And then I think I will play some of the AAA games and stuff like that, like Elden Ring or some of those things, but I think it's going to be when I only have that hour, like I was talking about earlier, and I don't need to fire up the PC and then like go sit in the chair. I can just like play on the couch. Or if I'm just like grinding, doing the same leveling process and doing something that's very like repeatable, I can have
task.
Yeah, I can just like have a TV show on, sitting on the couch back there or upstairs, spending time with my wife. She just likes me to be in the same room, which is completely fair, and I like that too. And so it'll just be nice to just be able to like pick up and do some things while I'm not like have to be in my gaming zone set up, like locked in, and so I'm pretty excited about like being able to do stuff like that, and then getting some of those games that like really run great if I'm like traveling or stuff like that, to really be able to dive into a game that runs awesome on the Steam Deck and is like built for it.
Right. Yeah. All the games I just mentioned, I bought super cheap. They're games that I've wanted for years. I mean, I've wanted to play Ori forever, but I didn't want to play it on my Switch because I know it's graphically, just beautiful. But I didn't want to take the time to play it on my PC because I have other major games that I'm playing. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I think the Steam Deck has great hardware for Ori, and it'll make that game like look really good.
Pop.
Yeah, and it has a great kind of screen with it. It does. I don't think it's not going to quite. It won't match the OLED Switch screen, but it'll beat the regular Switch screen in terms of colors and pop. And one thing that somebody said is they're really impressed at how low the light of the Steam Deck can go. And so it can be very hard to tune a display for low end brightness, because all you're doing is reducing the voltage that it gets applied to it, and then it pumps out light. Well, what happens then is you get to a point where that backlight just doesn't turn on. So it doesn't scale. It's not like a 1-to-1 scale ratio where I go to 50% of the voltage, I get 50% of the output brightness. Like A, brightness doesn't work like that, and then B, once you get to a certain point, it just shuts off. It can't go any lower. So they've done a phenomenal job of tuning it so that you can play in the dark in your bed without destroying your eyes. And then
there's actually a setting on there. You got nighttime mode. Pop it right on.
Yeah.
So, and I was just watching a video. I haven't tried it yet, but there's a dude that's playing outside in the sun because it has the anti-glare screen. and he's playing outside in the sun. He's like, I expected it to kind of be mediocre or barely work, and he's like, works beautifully. So I'm actually really excited about that, because not that I play outside much, but hey, you never know. A super bright room, whatever. You never know.
Yeah, or you're outside with your kids, and you can just bring it along with you.
Right.
Like outside, and like you could be watching them while they're outside playing, and get like 15 minutes of like gaming in, or continue like bring it out there with you. And with the Steam cloud saves, you could be like, oh, playing on the PC, oh, we're gonna go do something, shut down the game, pull it up on your Steam Deck, and continue like right where you left off, no matter where you are.
Yeah, the cool thing, so the Steam Deck, just like the Switch, it has a sleep mode. So you just click the power button once, it goes to sleep. And I kind of tested the battery usage with that, so I turned it off 2 days ago. Or wait, was it? No, it was yesterday. So I turned it off yesterday after a full charge at about 2 p.m. and I just checked it, and it went from 99% to 87% in sleep mode.
Wow, that's impressive.
So over 20. Well, we'd be at about 30 hours, and that's pretty good. I will tell you, though, the battery life is not the greatest on the Steam Deck, but if you look at the hardware you're running, you're going to get about 60 minutes to 90 minutes of gameplay, depending on how,
demanding the game is.
Demanding the game is, but having that quick sleep mode is great, because you have a setting in Steam. And what it is it's not just a cloud sync. When there's not a certain time, but what the deck actually does is when you hit sleep mode, your Steam Deck automatically knows right when you hit sleep to do a cloud sync. You have to turn the setting on, but they're like, hey, we know a lot of people are going to use this for portability, right?
Yeah.
And so they made that when you hit the sleep button, it automatically syncs up to the cloud. Like, that is part of the sleep process before it actually shuts down. That millisecond, it sends the save up to the cloud, so then you can jump right on your computer. Because they're like, the last thing we want you to do, they're like, for those of you who have multiple computers, if you've ever jumped on a computer and is like, oh, hey, by the way, your save is out of sync, you need to go jump back on your other computer and make sure you hit save and power down or whatever. I don't know if that's ever happened to you or not.
So it has only with Elden Ring.
Okay.
Because Elden Ring takes so long to fully close out that
I don't know why it does that, dude. Super weird.
I know. And so like I've it happened to me a couple times, and so now I have to I was so sick of exiting a game, going back to the main menu, it reloads the opening cinematic cutscene, and then you can go down to quit game, and then the audio is still going even when the game is closed.
And if you Steam, it will
it'll say it's still running for another, it feels like forever, but it's not
like 4 minutes. It's rolling.
So I was like Alt F4ing and force closing it when I'm done with the game. I'd say quit the main menu, so it would save, and then as it was starting to reload everything, I'd Alt F4, shut it down, and be like, fuck it, I'm done. Well, what that doesn't do is fully close it out so that Steam will do a cloud save. And so I almost lost a good chunk, 5 hours of gameplay, because I was playing on my TV over there, shut it down like that, and then I upgraded my computer. I took all the guts out, cleared that, put a different hard drive in, and then it's like, hey, yeah, you're it's not synced up. And I was like, dude, you gotta be kidding me. So I had to rebuild the computer and cloud sync it so that I could go back on and play. I was just like,
that's hilarious.
And that's the only game I've ever had an issue of the cloud sync with.
Yeah, I don't know why. I make it kind of like my nightly ritual when I turn off Elden Ring, is I turn it off, and then I go shut all my lights off and kind of, lock the doors, whatever. And then I come back and shut my computer down, because otherwise you get that, Steam is stopping you from shutting down message. You're like, what the fuck? But anyway, so yeah, I've done a little performance testing with the Steam Deck, and like I said, 60 to 90 minutes is kind of what I'm getting on a full charge. That's fine with me. It's not.
Do you have the 30 FPS cap on?
When I was, yes, I turned it on. So yeah,
Okay.
you can do like 10, 20, 30, 50, 60. I have that on, and it all depends on the game, obviously. And
For sure.
That was running Darksiders Genesis, and I think 90 minutes is plenty for me because I can take a 20-minute break, charge it up a little bit, whatever.
Or you can have, you have to get a pretty decent battery pack, but you could get a battery pack to like plug into it like while you're playing, depending on like how long you need. When you're just around the house, like an hour and a half is probably going to be pretty good for what you're doing on the Steam Deck. Otherwise, you'd be playing on the
Exactly.
PC.
Yeah, and I looked it up. These types of batteries, they they don't like to be fully charged. They don't like to be fully depleted. So they're saying between 10 and 85% is kind of where the battery likes to be charged or stop from charging. It does have a pass through on the battery, so it'll actually, when it hits 100%, it will
Nice.
It will stop and it will go back to 99% and then charge.
Oh my gosh, that's like,
so you can't fuck it up.
right. And it doesn't really like, it's not gonna like kill the battery immediately, but what it does is over time it reduces the amount that it can charge. And so I'm so glad like Valve introduced something like that. And I wish they'd make it so you could create your own kind of setting. Like I would love to be able to hit to 100 and let it deplete down to 90 and then charge back up versus kind of keeping it at 99 to 100. And I get like, they want you to at least have like all of your 90 minutes available like when you need it. Right. But yeah, like that's the big problem with cell phones is like if you let it sit at 100%, the amount so again, this is the amount of voltage required to continuously charge that battery changes depending on where the battery percentage is. And so it takes a lot more voltage at the beginning and it takes a lot more voltage at the end. So you sitting at 100%, it's just hitting it with this like super high voltage, and that degrades the battery over time. And so that's where it likes for you to be kind of in the middle, because it can apply a much lower voltage to keep it kind of like where it's at. And so I always try to charge it up either before I go to bed or like at work throughout the day, and then I have it at 100% throughout the night instead of leaving it on the charger overnight the entire time. Now sometimes I screw up when I'm at like 15% or 30% at night, and it's like, well, I'm gonna have to put it on the charger. But people who do it every single night,
horrible for it.
Yeah, then you're in a part after a year, you got like half 4 or 5 hours of battery before you got to like plug it back in, and then you're tethered to a wall.
Right. Yeah, I have a wireless charger that actually turns off when you get to 100%. So
nice. That's nice. Huge.
But yeah, so getting a full charge on the battery took 2.5 hours. So which I didn't. That's typical. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with it. The ergonomics are okay. It's comfortable, but it's nowhere near what my Satisfy grip is on my Switch.
Okay.
I think.
But how are the thumbsticks though?
They're a little too high in my opinion.
Really?
A little too high. Like I'm talking like I'm being nitpicky at this point. And I think the reason it feels weird is because you're completely flat. Kind of like, your Switch without a Satisfy grip on it, you're completely flat. If there's a little bit of angle, I think I feel better.
Right.
Like right now, switching to my left bumper is awkward, but it's not the worst. So I'm nitpicking here. I'm completely comfortable if I put a pillow on my lap or if I'm laying down and kind of go like that. I'm completely comfortable. I haven't got any wrist soreness or anything like that, but
that's good.
Yeah, a little bit of angle. Yeah, the thumbsticks. I mean, see, if you don't like the thumbsticks, you can always use the trackpad too, though.
Right.
And you can set the trackpads. Each game comes with kind of like their recommended left and right trackpad. But you can change it completely around. I mean, there's like 20 settings for the trackpad that you can do. So
yeah, I've with my Steam controller, I've messed around, and people would have like profiles for each game. I mean, that's where everybody thinks that like the Steam Deck is just a culmination of everything Valve has learned in hardware over the past like 10 or 15 years, because they started off with the Steam controller and it kind of got like middling reviews. For some games it was so good, but for other games it wasn't all that great because it was kind of limited because you didn't have two joysticks on them. You had like the big touchpads. But I think they learned so much from implementing those touchpads that now they get to implement them here on the Steam Deck, and it's a really good use case for them on the Steam Deck that really sets them apart from any other like portable handheld gaming company.
Yeah, it's super nice because, you know, right now the thumbs, or not right now, but the thumbsticks are in line. They're not offset like an Xbox controller. They're kind of like a PlayStation controller. But, you know, if you want to use the trackpad, you can. I think overall, though, the fluidity of the console is amazing. I've already said that to you before, but like, you have a Steam button, you have a settings button. Boom, you want to switch games, hit the Steam button. It goes, it's you know, simple library, store, whatever. It's super simple. My biggest or the most impressed I am with it is the Wi-Fi card.
Yes.
I was just telling you, I just downloaded a 14 gigabyte game in like 4 or 5 minutes. It is insanely fast. There is no delay whatsoever. You know, a 14 gigabyte game would take the Switch over an hour probably.
Yeah, you're not playing that like almost that night. Like if you start that in the evening, like good luck. Like maybe if you started to download right when you got home from work,
right,
you could play it before you go to bed. The Switch's Wi-Fi card is horrible.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing they just completely overlooked, how much like online play and downloading things would be versus all right, I don't get this about Nintendo. Like they do not want you to buy physical games. Or no, they do want you to buy the physical games. They don't want you to download them, which it doesn't even make any sense because they spend less money that way. They make more profit. They don't have to pay a retailer 30% cut. Right. They don't have to pay for packaging or the storage. Like it's 100% their profit coming right from their server. And so wouldn't you like encourage and make it easiest like to download things? They've lost me from downloading anything anymore because they've made multiple games that even if your console is set to your home console, you have to check in online to play. So you have a home console, you've got it bought and downloaded. Normally you can just fire up any game that's like on your SD card because that's your profile and you're logged in, and any other console that like isn't set as your home console has to check online. Well, now Legends Arceus, every single time I start up that game, no matter where I'm at, I have to be connected to the internet and it has to check in to see if I'm allowed to play the game. If I'm in the car, I'm like, how the fuck is this supposed to work? And so I try and hotspot my phone, doesn't work, won't connect to the server. So I just don't play it. I'm just like, this is the stupid.
You just lost portability of
Yeah, and the only reason I bought it, I would have bought the physical copy, but the only reason I bought the digital was because I could get it way sooner. There's no like shipping service that'll get it to you the day it launches. They ship it out the day it launches, which just kills me. And so I'm not waiting a whole weekend and getting it on a Monday when I could be playing it the entire weekend, especially for a big release like that. Yeah. But like, I'm done with it now, and I hate it. And Nintendo is they've killed me with that, and then their crappy Wi-Fi card on top of it. I'm done. The Steam Deck, the Wi-Fi card is incredible. It not only has really high speed, but it has incredibly low latency, and then the file system that they're writing it to is incredibly fast and responsive. And so, like you were saying, like it might even been have downloaded that game faster than your desktop computer like would have.
It felt like it did.
Like it's that snappy of a system and that powerful of a Wi-Fi card, and I don't know why like everybody doesn't have Wi-Fi cards like that, because that's your weakest link to the internet, which what everybody uses all their devices for.
Well, I mean, shit, Nintendo just informed us that we could use Bluetooth headphones finally.
Yeah, maybe they'll come out with an update.
But yeah, I'm super impressed with the Steam Deck. I don't have any bitches or gripes from my point of view. Obviously, I've kind of been nitpicky about the few things I did, but nothing that I would like deter someone from buying it. There's reviews all over the internet where people are like really digging into it. But if you look at the console as a whole, and like I said, if you look at it from the perspective of this is going to open up your library for opportunities that you're kind of missing on your desktop and not thinking about those huge titles. If you want to play a huge title, you need to play it on a gaming PC or, you know, your console. That's not what this system's meant for. Yes, they can run it. And if you want to, you know, like you said, grind out some runes on Elden Ring or whatever, you can do that. But if you're buying a $700 Steam Deck to play God of War, you're probably doing something wrong. You know, like you could build a PC once prices kind of taper off. Well, actually, right now prices aren't that bad, so you might be able to buy entry level PC. You know,
one of the topics I was going to talk about. Like the graphics card prices are finally, some of them are under $300 for a decent okay graphics card, right. But you could spend under $400 for a really good graphics card that like we previously haven't been able to do for 2 years. You can get them readily available. CPUs are cheaper than they've ever been, and you could probably build a system right now, a really good one, for right around $700 or $800, and be able to have just incredible experiences. Now, the one thing that the Steam Deck kind of offers is it has that screen built in, so you know you don't have to get a monitor or stuff, other stuff with it. So, I mean, the value of the Steam Deck definitely is there, and I think honestly, like the $700 version, like has a lot with it and is really good, but I think the best value is still their cheapest. And if you would have asked me this when they announced it, I would have disagreed with myself and said that the 500 or the 256 gig was the best value. But from what they have done with the speed and reliability of SD cards, you don't need the SSD. I'm blown away. And they have the 32 gig or 64 gigs is on this eMMC card, which in my experiences on laptops have been absolutely trash. Everyone says it's fine, it's great. Really? Like you can't store that much, but you throw on your 512 gig SD card, and now you can load your library up, and the load speeds are not bad at all. Like everyone has said, like they have looked at it from the lowest level, from the end user who could spent the least on their system, and they said this is the minimum bar of experience that you're going to get, and they've made sure it's up here. So I'm kind of blown away.
How much slower would be running if you popped like you said, a scan disk in there?
I mean, so what I've looked up a couple of reviews, and I can't remember the exact difference, but it was not as big of a difference as like it should have been. Like
a hard drive to SSD.
Yeah, it was better than a hard drive.
Well, if you look at us, like I use I forgot how big my scan disk is on my Switch. I don't notice any difference, and I was actually thinking about that the other day because I was like, well, do I need to get upgraded storage? I'm like, oh, maybe in the future for my 512 gigabyte SSD. But I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, you know, on my Switch, I don't really notice that big of a difference, so I would be curious to see.
So part of that is like Nintendo, the game load speeds, I feel like they limit them. Okay. They bring everything else down to the level of the SD card, and they actually, I think they under limit like what the SD card in general can do speed-wise. To just like there's just this like standard speed transfer that everything does, and so there's really no difference between the SD card and the Switch's internal storage. It's all like pretty standard. Now you're also loading like much lower res games, really low assets, and so like loading in general isn't like that hard on the Switch, and so but still some games take a decent time to load on the Switch, like loading levels and doing all these other things. And I feel like though, if you I would love to do a comparison of those same games on the Steam Deck, both on SD cards, and see what you get. And I guarantee you the Steam Deck's faster. It's not a bad experience in any sense. Like, is perfectly acceptable. And like in some ways people have said like it's almost like not even like worth like getting like the SSD upgrade. And so at $399 for this device, other devices in this class that aren't from Steam are $1,200 plus, 13, 1,400, and like, wow, like that's incredible. And each one kind of like has like a, you know, advantages and disadvantages. The other ones are a little bit more CPU heavy. The Steam Deck is like full GPU heavy. And so I feel like the Steam Deck still, they can get a little bit more optimization out of it, especially if developers develop specifically for the Steam Deck. I think they can squeeze some more performance out of there. And I think with the big influx of people buying these things, developers will take note like this is a big market, especially some of those like mid-grade games. Like, hey, if we optimize for the Steam Deck, like a lot of people like you and myself will take note of that and be picking up like a quality game that runs really well on the Steam Deck. It's like, I think it's been really easy for them to go backwards from a AAA game to get it running, but I think there's more optimization that they could do. And a lot of them are running in the Proton compatibility layer, which Valve has done an excellent job on, but it's not running natively in Linux on the Steam Deck, which is where you're going to get most of your horsepower out of. Like on a, like you develop for like a console, like they squeeze every last drop out of the Xbox, you know, One X and stuff like that, because they know, okay, there's 500,000 of these things. We know there's so many of them, and every single person's hardware is identical, and so they can spend more time just like making sure it runs really, really well on that specific set of hardware. If Steam can hit those numbers of these sold and pushed out, developers will start doing that for the Steam Deck, and you know, making a native Linux game, and then it's going to run incredible.
Yeah, I'm super impressed. I feel like this is, I told you this before, last July or June when I think it was July when we pre-ordered. This is what I've been waiting for, man.
Yes,
I mean, have a portability to Steam, because I'm super OCD when it comes to my shit. Nintendo Switch pisses me off because there's no achievements. So I choose to buy games on Xbox. It could be
over the Switch.
It could be a graphically shit game that would run great on the Switch, but I won't buy it because I'm weird. And I'm like, cool, I want the achievements, and now I can do that on the Steam. Like,
and yeah, you don't have to buy any more games for it, like you do with the Switch. You know how much money I've spent on games for the Switch. Yeah. I've just bought games because, especially in the first year and a half, 2 years, it was like almost every game that came out, I was like buying it. I don't know if I'm gonna like it that much or play it, but I just wanted more games that you could play in that portability and that form factor. And at the time, it was only the Switch is the only place you could get that experience. And now that this is out, like, but we don't have to buy any more games. Like, we already own them all on Steam. We can just pick it up and play. And then there's even cheaper games like that run even better on the Steam Deck that we can just pick up. It's like it's
$2. I'm serious, dude. Go on CD Keys and look at the $2 games you will buy. I will. AAA, you know, either last generation or a couple years ago, games for $2.
Yeah. Oh, so I mean, CD Keys is great. I've been using Green Man Gaming for all the brand new games, and I've been getting 20% off on brand new games. I don't know how they're getting these discounts. I don't know if they are buying in bulk and then getting a discount and selling.
Look at Walmart. You get $10 off day one release for pre-orders.
So I wonder if they charge something. 30% and like a retailer would and get a cut, but. I'm maybe that's how they're doing it, but yeah, 20% on brand new games. It's like, why wouldn't you buy it? And you just get a key, and if you can link your Steam account, and it'll activate through the website, and then you can just start downloading. And so I think that's a little bit more direct, from Steam way versus CD Keys is usually other people are selling their game keys that they've purchased on CD Keys. So if you're, trying to support the developer a little bit more, Green Man Gaming is definitely a way to go. But also, if you're trying to get the brand new games that are coming out, that's where you're going to want to get it at for sure.
Yeah,
but
don't buy that on CD keys. 'Cause they're actually usually more expensive than
right. Yeah, like like on CD keys, like the new ones coming out, they may give you 5% off or 3% off,
or they might be more. Dude, I've seen them for like $70 when they're $60 games. I'm like, what the fuck? But,
yeah, who's buying these things?
Right. Oh, some people.
But yeah, no, I mean, and then even you can easily get 15 to 20% off a lot of these games. And then there's Steam Summer Sales that you can load out. And then if you've ever done Steam Summer Sales, you probably have a backlog of a couple of hundred games already. Right. And all of those ones that you previously bought are going to run great on your Steam Deck. Mm-hmm. And so if you take into account, I bought the Switch for $300, and then I've probably spent $1,000 on games over the years, because everything has been $60, almost everything, unless I get the couple on Black Friday that I didn't already have. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to spend way less on the Steam Deck just 100%. Because I already have everything, and then I can pick them up and play them on my PC too. And then it's a platform that I know is going to keep evolving and growing with me, whereas the Nintendo Switch is going to come out with a new system, and those games aren't going to be backwards compatible. You're not going to be able to slot them in and play them, and they're going to recharge you for those games all over again.
Yeah, look at the Wii U to the Nintendo Switch. Mm-hmm. We've almost been going for an hour though, so I think we should cut her out. This was a fun conversation. I'm excited, so. Man. I travel tomorrow, so I'm going to be taking the Steam Deck and just
getting some perfect break-in and use case period. That's for right. It. All right, you play on the couch or you play kind of in your bed and you're getting a little bit playing time here and there, but now you're traveling. Here's where it's going to shine. It's in its prime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have a USB-C dock yet. So it's just going to be handheld all the way and get a few hours of gameplay. But
hell yeah.
So that's all I got. Super fun catching up. Really appreciate getting back on, because a couple of weeks was a long break. So you got anything else?
Just stay nerdy.